If you have not seen this interview with Sean Hannity and RFK Jr., it's actually pretty good. Hannity grills the heck out of RFK Jr. on some of his previous positions. Let's check it out and we'll talk about it.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
You know, I really do appreciate your position on the border. You and I are in agreement. You know, it's interesting because everybody's now trying to analyze, whether if there's a three-way race with you, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden, who would you more likely draw from? So I hope you don't mind, but I did a little research on you. You're pretty liberal. You've called for curbing, logging, oil drilling, fracking. You wanted to eliminate it. You called it a victory for democracy. You want to curb U.S. fossil fuel extraction. Keep it in the ground, you once tweeted. You want a ban on fossil fuel extraction, a ban on fracking. You called the NRA once a terror group. You've supported over the years Democrats, Gore, Kerry, Obama, Hillary. You've praised Bernie Sanders multiple times. You support affirmative action. So why is this party of yours, why didn't they even want to allow you to compete? Because that's as pretty liberal of a record as anybody I know.
You have a litany of talking points from statements I've made over 40 years. Some of them are stale. Some of them I never said. But, what is your question? Why the Democratic Party? Why I'm not running in the Democratic Party?
Why did they kick you out?
I feel like...
I mean, by the way, I'm giving you comments that you made in 2016, 17, 19, endorsements. We know the years Gore, Kerry, Obama, Hillary, Bernie Sanders. They're all recent quotes. The NRA quote you made about calling them a terror group was 2018. So these are recent positions you've had. That I'm not sure why the Democratic Party wouldn't allow you to compete.
Do you want to talk about my position, Sean?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to read talking points from the Trump campaign?
Well, excuse me. These are not talking points. These are called Hannity points. I do my own research.
No, but I saw that same list published this morning by the Trump campaign.
All right. RFK Jr. says these are Trump talking points, and they're actually not, because he did endorse Hillary Clinton back in 2007. This is from NBC News. RFK Jr. endorses Hillary Clinton. November 29, 2007. Hillary Clinton has the strength and experience to bring the war in Iraq to an end and reverse the potentially devastating effects of global warming, Kennedy said in a statement released by Clinton's campaign. I watched proudly as Hillary won over New Yorkers across the state in her race for the Senate seat my father once held. So he threw his hat behind Hillary Clinton, and we know what would have happened if she had gotten into office if Donald Trump did not beat the brakes off of her back in 2016. Let's see. Yahoo Finance. On climate change, Kennedy voices support for a Green New Deal proposal put forward by Queens Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but primarily called on governments to divest from fossil fuels and impose a tax for carbon emissions. He says, I think the Green New Deal and all that stuff is important. We ought to be pursuing it. My approach is more market-based than kind of top-down dictates. I believe that we should use market mechanisms like carbon taxes and the elimination of subsidies. So he was behind the Green New Deal, which was, put forward by AOC, and she is a radical leftist lunatic. We all know that. So these are not Trump talking points. Now, I will get into some of the things like the border, which I think he would be much better than Joe Biden on the border. So that's a plus if you do like RFK Jr. If I had to choose between Joe Biden and RFK Jr., let's keep going here.
And it's the exact same list. And again, if you want to know what my position is on any issue, I'm happy to talk to you about it.
On those positions, you come off, and this is not an insulting thing. You are historically very left of center, very liberal, and I agree with you. Your party treated you horribly. I think you deserve better. I don't like the way your own family even treated you. I thought, you know, if they don't agree with you, they can disagree. But I didn't like what they said about you. To be honest, I think you're being honest in your positions, but I don't think you can convince any conservative that you have any conservative leanings except for a couple of issues. Maybe some conservatives would agree on the border. Maybe some would agree on your vaccine policy, especially with COVID. Where else would you say you're conservative?
And so that's what. And see, there are a lot of things that are talked about here, like his tweet about the NRA, saying they're a terror organization, or whatever, call them terrorists. You know, no matter what you think about the NRA, you know, they are typically viewed as conservative Second Amendment advocates. You know, there are some people that have their issues with them, but that's another topic for another day. But we know the left hates the NRA, absolutely despises the NRA. They call them terrorists, and this is no different here with RFK calling them terrorist organization or whatever he said. Let's keep going.
Well, I wouldn't describe myself at this point as part of the conservative ideology or the Democratic ideology. I would describe myself as part of the common sense ideology. If you ask me, Sean, about any particular issue, I'm happy to tell you what I feel about it. And I also am happy to listen to other people's opinions about it.
All right, I'll ask
you.
Do you still, do you still believe the NRA is a terror group?
I support the Second Amendment like I do all the amendments to the Constitution, and I'm not going to take
I didn't ask you if you support the Second Amendment. You called in 2018, you said Parkland students are right. The NRA is a terror group. Do you believe that?
I don't consider the NRA a terror group.
Do you regret tweeting that in 2018?
Well, I don't recall tweeting it in 2018, but if I did, as I said, Sean, I don't consider them a terror group, and I support the Second Amendment.
Do you regret endorsing Al Gore, John Kerry, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Bernie Sanders over the years?
I don't recall endorsing Bernie Sanders. I like Bernie Sanders. I voted for Barack Obama. I don't regret that. I don't. There's a lot of things about those candidates, the candidates who won, that I was disappointed in. I think that, you know, we need to wind down the war machine abroad. And I don't think, and I supported Hillary, and I don't think that as Secretary of State that she lived up to those expectations. So, but I'm not going to say that I didn't. I supported them then. I supported what they believe in. I think I have a common sense approach to politics. And I'm happy, as I said, to talk to you about any of the issues.
No, listen, I'd love to do another town hall with you. I actually enjoyed our time together. Do you stand by your position that you've held at least since 2012 and through 2019 that I have quotes for, banning fracking and banning oil and fossil fuel extraction?
I've never believed in banning oil or banning fossil fuel extraction. What I've said is that those industries need to internalize their costs. In other words, it's that carbon is the most heavily subsidized energy source. There's $5.2 trillion of subsidies that go to big carbon every year, and that doesn't include even the oil wars, that in a real free market economy, the cost of those wars would be reflected in the price of gasoline when you got to the tank. The reason that I oppose fracking is because it's poisoning water supplies. I've watched the water supply in Dimock, Pennsylvania, where people turned on their faucets, Sean, and they could light a match there. We don't want to poison people. And if fracking's doing that, then,
it's the lifeblood of the world's economy.
Those people for the cost of
and we don't have any real alternatives that are efficient and cost-effective as of now. We'd love to have you back.
That absolutely is not true. That just is not true.
Of course it's true.
John, that's not true, and I'm happy to talk to you about it. If you give me a chance.
I'll tell you what, we'll bring you back,
maybe.
And I'd love to. Maybe we'll do.
So he still got behind the Green New Deal. And I read a book on the Green New Deal, and it would have been a complete disaster for our economy, for our country, and would have had great effects on the entire world. So his position, even though if he has a different angle at it, the fact he got behind it alone is scary itself. I'm not saying he's a radical leftist, but he is very liberal. The reason why I'm saying this is because there are a lot of people out there who think he's a viable alternative to Trump, a viable alternative to Biden. For those people who don't like Biden or who don't like Trump, there are conservatives who say, I'm sick of Trump. I don't like the Republican Party. I'm going to vote independent. RFK is a good candidate. You have those on the left saying, I don't like Joe Biden. I want somebody more moderate, so I'm going to go with RFK Jr. Yes, RFK Jr. is a much better option than Joe Biden. He actually has a pretty good stance on the border. He knows there's a crisis at the border. He knows that we don't need open borders. Check this out.
Seal the border.
Well, you know what? It's not that hard. Because
How would you do it?
I would do it. I mean, there's a number of things that you have to do. I was against Trump's wall, but having seen it down there, I see that you were required to give a physical barrier during certain, not all the way 2,200 miles from San Diego to Brownsville, Texas, but certain highly densely populated areas, you need a physical barrier. But in the hinterlands, in the wilderness areas, you can use sensors like they do in Israel, like ground sensors and
There's all
towers.
sorts of AI breakthroughs too. But you would resume the building of Trump's border wall?
Well, a lot of it now has been rebuilt. You know, Mayorkas, who's the DHS secretary, recognized that the gaps in that wall, that we shouldn't have left them. But it's not so much the wall, it's the other censoring devices that were all ripped up, you know, which I'm very embarrassed to say by this administration, by the Democratic administration. And also the policies were changed so that the presumption is everybody gets in. And I witnessed it myself. And we can't have that.
Everybody's not getting in.
Yes, everybody gets in.
There are crowds of people waiting to try and apply through the new app that the Biden administration has set up. They're setting up.
As for legal immigration.
Oh, you're talking about illegal immigration.
I'm talking illegal immigration. Everybody gets in. I watched it. 7 million people have come in. Just the one little section I would.
See, he's not wrong about the border. He recognizes that. And I believe that he is being honest about that. I don't think let's say he hypothetically did get into office, which is unlikely, but let's just say he does. I think he would do a better job on the border than Biden. He's not directly saying he would finish the wall. I don't think he wants to come out and say that. He's somewhat dodged the question, but he recognizes that. He said, look, I was against Trump's border wall, but then he said, but then he went down there and saw it and saw the issue, the problems that were there. And he said, well, Mayorkas understands that there are certain gaps that need to be filled. So he didn't say he would resume border wall construction, but he also recognized in a way that there is a need for a physical barrier. See how he kind of toed that line, but then he's saying there needs to be sensors and things like that. He says everybody can't come through. Illegal immigration must be stopped. And he's right about that. Let's keep going.
Was out in Yuma. There's 350,000 people came here before, but I met with the Yuma authorities, I met with the hospitals, I met with the centers that take care of the immigrants who are beleaguered. I met with the Border Patrol and the sheriff, and everybody agreed it could be stopped. It could be wound down to what it was before this administration, which was about 25 people a day, which is not a big problem. But having now it's 300 to 800 a day. And that, no nation can survive if they can't protect their borders. I would, as president, I will expand legal immigration. I will make it easier, particularly for workers to come across on the H visas, and then, and bring in and have an orderly system that benefits our country. Immigration is good for our country. This kind of immigration is unfair to everybody, and particularly to the immigrants that have been brought here. And then over the long term, the immigrants that have poured in from Latin America, a lot of them are coming up because of policies, wrongful policies that the U.S. has had, the drug wars, the austerity programs, the support of juntas, the war on the poor that we've maintained for so many years, and we need to change those policies as well.
So there you go. He would, it seems like, do a lot of things to slow down illegal immigration. Like he said,
Before that, though, I want to say,
he would expand legal immigration. I don't know how you feel about that. Make it easier for workers to get in. I know there are some people who are not for that. Because some people do take American jobs, as some would say, and they don't like certain people coming over here taking those jobs. So I'm not saying me. I'm saying people that I've heard, people I know, and there are people that feel this way. So I don't know how you feel about expanding legal immigration, but you definitely need to make it harder to get here illegally. That is 100%. Something we can agree on there is you need to stop illegal immigration. And if you look, I have no issue with legal immigration. It's great for our country. It is. If you're coming to this country and you are law-abiding, you want to work, you want to take on the American way of living and assimilate here, then that is totally fine. And yes, we will open the doors for you and welcome you with open arms. But if you come here, if you bring in the third world, you become the third world. If you don't assimilate, if people don't assimilate and they continue their ways of third world living, not respecting our way of life and our laws, then we will become that. But anyway, so on the border, RFK seems to understand that this is a problem. He calls it a dystopian nightmare. So I'm for anybody. One policy I can agree on with anybody is if they want to shut down the border, the illegal immigration problem we have, and make things difficult to get here illegally, and therefore legal immigration. I'm fine with that. And then he's against the vaccine mandates. So he came out against vaccine mandates, which is great, and I think that is a plus. But I'm also looking at the other side of this. That he is a liberal. He supported Hillary Clinton. He voted for Barack Obama. He says he's friends with Bernie Sanders. He says he didn't endorse him. I don't know, but he has a history of being liberal. He supports the Green New Deal. He called the NRA a terrorist organization. The tweet is somewhere down here. February 18th, 2018. Parkland students are right. The NRA is a terror group. They are not a terrorist organization. This is a talking point from the left. So there are some very liberal things about him. And would he be better than Joe Biden? 100% sure. I'm 100%, 100% certain that anybody's better than Joe Biden. I would be 10 times better than Joe Biden. If you put me in the office right now, I would make things happen. Or I'll try to at least. But for the sake of the argument here with these candidates here, let's go to some polling data of Trump, Biden, and Kennedy. It looks like he hurts Biden more than anything, more than Trump. Arizona, in a three-way race, Trump is ahead 42-37, and then Kennedy with 8. Georgia, Trump up by 3 on Biden. Florida, Trump +7. North Carolina, Trump +3. In these key states here, Trump +2 in Michigan. Pennsylvania, a virtual tie between Biden and Trump. So it looks like Kennedy draws, according to this polling, more from Biden than he does Trump. And I think that's because the Trump base is not going anywhere. Look, you know my position. If you listen to my channel before, you know I'm a Trump guy. And we are not going anywhere from Donald Trump. His base is strong. 35-40% stranglehold on the party is not going anywhere. But then you have the other side of Democrats. You have a lot of Democrats who are out there in the country who are not as radical as Joe Biden, who are very middle of the road. They want common sense things. They want a secure border. They don't like vaccine mandates. They want their kids protected from the CRT nonsense and all this transgenderism. They want they want a strong military. They have very common sense, and they think Biden is too radical. He's been a disaster. They want a smooth running economy. They don't like this inflation that's going on. So they want to, and then at the same time they hate Trump. They will never vote for Trump, but they don't want to vote for somebody who's a Republican. So they see Kennedy as a viable candidate. That's why he's drawing 8-9% in a three-way race and pulling at about 20 when he was in the Democrat Party. Between him and Biden, he was pulling about 15 to 20% in that range in a lot of cases, which is very high. Will it last? I don't know. But and then you have our side who will never vote Democrat. And I'm never going to vote Democrat. I'm not. I'm just not going to vote for these people because I think they will 9 times out of 10 they're going to maybe 9.5 times out of 10 they're going to side with their party. They're going to do what's best for the Democrat Party. And we've seen that in Congress. Democrats stick together because they're not really. They have more of the hive mind. They kind of go along with each other. They have their person they prop up and they get behind them, and they go hard at what they believe in, and I respect that. But the Republicans, we're not like that. Not so much. So I will not vote Democrat because I do not agree. I don't agree with any of their positions. Um, and somebody who supports Hillary Clinton, in my opinion, is too left for me. Somebody who got behind the Green New Deal is too liberal for me. But I do respect his position on the border because I agree with the position on the border. And I've where I stand on that. Vaccine mandates, I'm against that. But I just want to talk about that because I know there are a lot of people who think RFK Jr. is the best option, which I don't think he is. But I want to give you my opinion on this and wanted to show you what his positions are on certain things. And if you need to make a decision, if you're in the middle somewhere, if you don't know who you're going to vote for, you don't like Trump, you don't like Biden, you're thinking of RFK Jr., here are some facts presented to you. That's all this is. But all right, guys, thanks for listening. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Take care.